7 months ago, I started resistance training for the first time in my life. For context, I just turned 44 and my diet wasn't exactly ideal. I had what some might call a skinny fat physique. As an adult, I always carried a little bit of extra weight around the belly. This was how I looked about a year ago and for most of my adult life. And this was about 3.5 months ago after I started working out. And about another 3.5 months have since passed, and I've continued to progress. I started working out to simply look better and feel better, and ideally live longer, as resistance training has been proven to both improve longevity and increase our quality of life as we age. So in this video, I'll walk you through my 4, sometimes 5-day-a-week workout routine. Just a word of caution, I'm certainly not an exercise scientist or fitness coach or nutritionist or really even remotely qualified to talk about any of this stuff, so if you're looking for expert advice, you probably want to look elsewhere, as this is just a plan that I put together that seems to be working for me. So for a quick overview of the structure of the program, I alternate between push days and push/leg days with 2 variations of each. So we'll call the push days A1 and A2, and push days primarily work the chest, shoulders, and triceps. And for the pull/leg days, we'll call those B1 and B2, and they primarily work the back, biceps, forearms, and legs. So excuse the cheesy graphic I made. My typical weekly schedule looks something like this. Sundays are always off. Monday is the first push day. Tuesday is the first pull and legs day. Wednesday is rest. Thursday is the second push day. Friday is the second pull and legs day. And then on Saturday I rest, or I can go back and do the first push day again. But let's say I know I'm busy next Thursday. Well, since this plan can be flexible, my week might look something like this. And you'll notice on this one, I decided to work out Saturday as well. And when I'm away, which is usually 6 weeks a year or so, I just take the entire time off, since fully resting and healing up is probably good for you every now and then. On top of working out 4 or 5 times a week, I do have one absolute non-negotiable, and that is a minimum of 10,000 steps every day. And since I pretty much walk for a living, I don't really have an excuse not to do that. Also, just to touch upon nutrition and supplements, since they do play such a huge role in making progress, I aim for about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. And I supplement with creatine and collagen powder. Also, I've really cut down on processed foods and anything with added sugars, as they're basically poison. That said, I still have fast food every once in a while and treat myself to the odd donut. I also drink socially on weekends. I just try to keep my calorie intake under control. And finally, for a lot of these exercises, which I do here in my living room, you'll notice I use a rather unique piece of equipment. And that's a Squatz Apollo Board, which is kind of like a digital weight set. But you can do any of these exercises, or at least similar variations of them, with good old adjustable dumbbells. So it's on to the first day of my 4 or 5 day a week workout routine. So I start off each workout by doing some light stretches, followed by 1 minute of jump rope. Then, even though it's a push day, I do about 15 pull-ups, just enough to warm up, but not really tire myself out. And note, when I started, I couldn't even do a single pull-up. And for the following exercises, I do 3 sets of 12 reps each with about 90 seconds break in between each set, taking the last set to failure. And once that last set can go above 14 or so reps, I increase the weight and track all of my progress in a Google Doc file, which I can access and update on any of my devices. So I start off with a 2-hand overhead press. This is a classic compound shoulder move. Again, I'll be doing 3 sets of 12 with about 90 seconds in between each set. Then I throw on the weighted vest for some push-ups. Then I do some lateral raises for broader shoulders. This targets the lateral delts. Followed by some low to high dumbbell chest flies, which focus mainly on the upper chest. And then it's on to a core exercise, and on this day, I'm doing weighted vest ab rollouts. And again, I do 3 sets of 12. And then, since I have the weighted vest on anyways, I just do 1 set of the max number of pull-ups I can do using the weight that I used for push-ups, followed by a 1 minute dead hang, and then a quick stretch to wind down. And that is it. The whole workout usually takes about 45 minutes, and as soon as I'm done, I have a quick protein smoothie, and then I hop in the shower. And now we're off to the first pull/legs day. So I do the same warm-up as the push day, except instead of pull-ups, I do chin-ups. So one difference with this day from the push day is I run this day as a circuit. So instead of doing each exercise one by one, I just do all 5 in a row as kind of one big set. Then I take a 2-minute break, and then I do 2 more sets, taking the last one to failure. So I start off with some weighted squats, and they hit the quads, glutes, and hamstrings. And then it's on to single arm curls for the biceps. And then it's calf raises, although instead of doing sets of 12, I do sets of 20. These also strengthen the feet, especially with flexible shoes on. And then it's some bent over rows for the back, arms, traps, and core. And then I hit the biceps once again, as well as the brachialis and forearms with some hammer curls. And then on pull days, instead of weighted vest ab rollouts, I do a series of 4 planks at 45 seconds each with a 15-second rest between. And I do 2 side planks, a standard plank, and a bear hold. And again, since I have the weighted vest on, I finish by doing 1 set of my max reps of chin-ups, followed by a minute of dead hang and then stretching, and then the protein smoothie followed by a shower. And we're on to the second push day. So the warm-up is the same as the first push day, so we can just skip that. And on this one, I do a bench press. That's instead of the weighted vest push-ups I did on the first push day. And then since I've got the bench out anyways, I do flat dumbbell flies, which are different from the low to high ones I did on the first push day. And then I do the overhead press again. This is the same one that I started off the first push day with. And I finish up with overhead tricep extensions. And just like that first push day, I finish with weighted vest ab rollouts. I do my max pull-ups, I dead hang for a minute, and then I stretch. And for the second pull/leg day, I do the same warm-up and circuit format as the previous pull day. So for this one, I start off by doing deadlifts instead of squats. And then instead of single arm curls, I do barbell curls. And then it's calf raises again. And then I do some standing rows. Followed by some more hammer curl action. And then I finish the same as I did the last pull day. So I do 4 planks, the weighted vest chin-ups, the dead hang, and then I stretch. And that's pretty much the full routine, and I don't really see any reason to change course. I might swap in some different exercises here and there, but for the most part, as long as I'm turning up that dial, practicing what's called progressive overload and making things harder, or increasing the intensity by making the exercises harder, or increasing the weights, just doing something to continually challenge yourself, that's what really gets your body to adapt and get stronger and build more muscle. And that's really been the key driving factor behind all of my progress. And also, I couldn't even do a single pull-up or chin-up, and now I can do well over 25 all at once of either of them. So the progress is real. You just have to push yourself and continually challenge yourself. But as I said, I'm certainly not an exercise scientist or fitness coach or nutritionist or anything along those lines. So take all of this with a grain of salt or for entertainment purposes only. But I do look forward to your thoughts and comments down below. So thank you so much for watching, and that's all I got. Yoink.